Hello, everybody. Welcome to December Daily 2025 Stories 23 to 25 Process Videos. I am thrilled to be here with you today as we set up the final three stories in my album. And so I'm kicking things off with these frames that I have pulled out from the CS collection. I have also chosen about 5 photos from just everyday moments throughout the past couple days leading up to day 23 that may not have made it into the album before. And so doing that helps me to just kind of capture a collection of stories. I'm using the around here prompt paper and just capturing some of the moments of things happening around here. I have pulled out some of the green and cream and gold frames for this one. I thought that they would work really, really well together. And so I'm just playing around with these frames to get it, just the way I'd like it. I envisioned creating just a page of frames before the summer daily started, and I realized coming down to working through what I wanted to have for day 23 that I haven't yet played a ton with these frames, and so I wanted to make some space to include a layout of frames in this year's December Daily album. So love how it's coming together. I love that our tones are mostly neutral tones in general, our clothes and decor and whatnot, so it works well together. I am using some puffy squares, some foam squares to pop this label up. It's one of the, I think, like a sage green with a gold border, and I really love using this for the layout. Now, I think the largest part of this layout would have been just working through the sizes of each photo, which photo would be laid out where it wouldn't, block a funny part of a family member or something like that. I think that took the longest time. So those are really pre things happening there. I definitely wanted to use this green number 23 for this. I am adhering it with some red line tape. The white looks good too. It's funny when you're looking at things in retrospect. But yeah, I'm just going to put some red line tape down, and I am wanting to use one of these gold glitter stickers, star stickers, and I am popping the red line tape right behind the gold sticker so that you can't really see it peeping out through there. And so I love how that looks. And now I will move on to working on the other side of the page. And what I like about using decorated frames for a layout is that you don't have to do too much. You don't have to embellish too much because those ornate borders look gorgeous as is. So I wrote out my journaling, and I am using one of these brush pens for the titles, and then using this thinner pen for the rest of the journaling on the paper, keeping it simple. I then though decided that I wanted to do something to make this paper pop a bit, so I am going to use some of my stamps on the top there to bring it all together with the greens on the left, making sure it flows through. So I pulled out, the stamps from this year, said, I know I want to use that big fa la la la. I think that'd be perfect for that spot. But I'm also thinking about what else I can add is it, some quotes or whatnot? I decide in the end, I love this so much, to use this stamp that has the block writing. So this one is really pretty. Maybe it has like a toss in like before Christmas quote, or it's more than a quote. On this, I found some stray pieces of acrylic on there, so just checking through to make sure there aren't any more before I put some stamping on there. And I'm also checking the size of the stamp with respect to the paper. So that means for me, where the middle line is, I wanted to create that block, on the left and the right still, but because of where the stamp lies, just right in the center, ooh, my entire head's there. And then I thought it might be nice to simply remove the part of the block that doesn't need to be seen. So just going to go in there and simply ink this up with some grass skirt ink and pop that on. Now I just am gingerly pressing it down and going to remove the washi tape, and then I'm just gonna pop this down right there. So popping that down right there, and then I'm not gonna do too much, just some light pressing across. And once that's up, I love how it prints. So I'm just gonna go in now and create another ink top. So just adding in the washi tape again and inking it up with some of the grass skirt ink. I love how this turns out. I love how it's looking on the paper. Just some nice thin text. I thought it'd be perfect for a background image here. And I'm just gonna pop it on again to the other side. So just being very careful here. And once I pop that down and it's all centered up, I can just go in there and raise it back up. So that's this, and simply going to clean this up with some of my acrylic ink cleaner and wipe it off so that it doesn't stain the stamp. I love doing that right away. I find that that's the best way to preserve my stamps, and I always have baby wipes, so I'm just wiping that up and throwing it off. So that looks quite good to me. And then I'm just gonna peel it off and pop it back on to the backing. So that was perfect. I love how that turned out. And then I am going to pull out the Fa La 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 La, and I initially want to use gold embossing powder for this. I quite love how this layout turned out. A little bit obsessed with it, but at the same time I'm also just double checking some of the other scripts words, large script words from this year, to see if any of these would fit in well. Happy story. We have been nice. But stories, because there's so many little stories, I thought it would have been grammatically incorrect. So I stuck with Fa La 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 La. And then just popping that on, quickly inking it up with some of the Versamark ink. I am also going to use this static powder brush beforehand as well, because a lot of times when I do double layer stamping, if I'm doing embossing as a second layer, it sticks to the ink that's already there. So just a tip if you're doing it, to just kind of, the static actually work 100% well for this. So I'm really happy about that, and I'm happy that I remembered to pop it on. So just trying to get it in between some of my titles there, and not have it cover them. And then I am going to add some gold glitter embossing powder. I decided to use that one instead of the gold, just to bring in some fun. So we're gonna get a copy piece of paper. I like to fold it in two, pop that down there. For me, the system with the gold emboss, putting the embossing powder within the crease and pouring it back in a jar works much better for me than the trays. The trays, I find the glitter sticks to the tray more than getting back into the jar, which is annoying for me. Maybe I can dust it with some static powder before putting it on and see if that works. But yeah, I love how this came out nice, clean print here. So I'm just going to dust up any that was lower. This is glitter, so the glitter is a bit more more particles that adhere to things, but it did not stick to the print of the lower of the green worded stamp. So that was great for me. So just gonna pop this back into the jar here, and once that's back in and covered all up, I can put my heat gun here. I really love this heat gun. It is a dual speed heat gun. I will link it down below for you, and it helps to speed up the drying process. And also if you're using thicker papers, I find it particularly helpful. But for the most part, the first setting kind of works quickly enough for me because it's quite powerful heat gun. But I also use the second speed if I wanted to kind of go a bit quicker, or if I'm using a thicker paper, or I got double embossing or something like that. So I'm just passing it over each part of this word. It is a big word, so making sure that I heat it all up evenly, the tops of the L's, the bases, and just kind of going through it all until it is completely embossed here. So love how that's coming out. I'm just really obsessed with this layout. This might be my favorite layout in my album, maybe. So loving that nice gold embossed look, pretty. And now I'm going to add in a couple layers. So this tag I've been wanting to use all month long, and I just love how clean and simple it is. And then I'm just going to use some of the green chevron ribbon that I have from May Arts, and I am going to just use some twine as well to tie that all together. And this is probably one of my favorite ways now to tie a little ribbon into my layouts, this double tie. And loving how that's looking, loving the additional textures, the stamping, the embossing, the ribbon, the jute twine. It's coming together nicely. So once that's done, I can go ahead now and pop on some foam squares to adhere it to the paper. I'm also just going to trim off some of the tops of the ribbons, or tops and ends of the ribbons, to get a smoother finish. And I love that. It is so cute. And yeah, so once that's done, I am happy with it being on the edge there. Fala. The last L will be covered up. And popping these on. Just popping them on. And making sure there's an even balance throughout so that, nothing warps or anything later on. And once those are in place, I am just going to, yeah, I like that. That's great. So this is what it looks like right now. But at this point, I have completely forgotten that I did not use one of my frames. And so I do go back in to finish that layout a bit later on. But right now, I'm just kind of remembering that I've placed this here, but there is a chance exactly that it is, yes, I need a filler page. So I spent some time working through what that filler page could be. If this can now be like a pull-out 6x8 from behind, I decide to go in and punch my holes for 21 and 22 and just kind of work through how how best to get this done, and how the filler page would work and what it can be, that kind of thing. So I guess in retrospect, yeah, I've been putting these in quite regularly or efficiently, mostly at the end of a layout now. But I did get a few of these kind of piling up a little when I was working through the last few days of my December daily album and just wanting to maximize my productivity in my craft room. And then, yeah, so it actually worked out really nicely in the end. I remember that I made a vellum Christmas tree page for SBC Fest, which was a few months ago, and it was for my December daily album, but I did not use it yet because I forgot it was there. And so you'll see me here with a bit of a snafu with my punch. So just making sure that your holes line up when you're making your when you're punching your holes for back-to-back pages would be my key takeaway here. And then so this was a whole drama. I thought that I could do it as a slide up if I did it like that and just kind of tuck it in and have that there. But then I thought that looked quite funny because it's so big and it covers so much of the 23. So now I'm thinking I could do it this way and have like a 6x8 on the inside. But then this should kind of be like either a flip up or a flip out or something like that. But I have acetate that I can cut down and just kind of work through what's best. Hey, I'm thinking about this. So I have this Christmas tree page, which I quite like. It is just that, a filler page. And I'm thinking through, okay, now this looks a bit not the way I would want it to look. I could layer it like that, but then it's still vellum. And then have this acetate be the foundation for that frame. So it will open this way. But then in all of the chaos, I thought through, well, one, I need to back that frame on the left-hand side with something. So I am creating just a window and a frame on the back of it because it will need a backing. And I like how that layers as well onto that side of the page because you could still see the other 3 photos there. So I'm thinking that I can use this 2025. These December moments have my heart because these are some of our everyday moments. I love this vellum and I've just been wanting to use it the entire time. I think that anything with red wouldn't work for this layout, since it's, my full green layout. And yeah, just going through everything in my stash to see what could work. Was wanting to use more of these vellum as well, vellum pieces. But yeah, thinking that I like this and that I could use a frame over it, but I really didn't want to hide that green scallop border. That green scallop border on the December moments have my heart. So I like how that looks on that side. So then I realized that I can flip the entire skirt. So finding a border, a frame, cardstock frame that works, and I like this one, even though it blocks out the scallop. I figure that it still has a nice kind of ornate border on it, which I like. So just kind of thinking through it all, and then I feel like I am making a decision to commit to this. So I loving how it looks, and I am just going to glue these together. So I decided to flip it. So the full 10 by 8 part is going behind this filler page, and at this point I'm thinking to stitch it and have a shaker page, but then I realized I don't really need a shaker page, and I kind of like how that la la washi is looking. So I'm just going to put glue on the parts behind the paper, because that can't be seen anyway. I think I always feel a bit conscious about the warping of vellum when putting in different glues, how it sees through. Just always, mindful of how it is adhered. So at this point, I am thinking that tralala looks quite nice on that little piece of border where I was gonna just stitch around, and maybe I can put it on both sides of the layout to adhere it all together. So that's what ends up happening here. I flop this over on the other side, but the holes are still poking through. So now I am going to add another piece. Be very careful when you're using the rolls of especially thicker washi tapes. I find that, it could tear easily. So just adding that into the side, I'm slowly rolling it, and I quite like that. I don't usually use washi tape for borders, and so it's been quite pleasant using it this year for that purpose. I have quite a few layouts that I've done and used that. And so the foldover is quite nice because of the black and white script here. And you're just gonna neaten it up a bit and do it on the other side as well. So peeling this off carefully and adding this on here. And then just working through how I'd like it to look. 23 took so much of my time because of this, but not in a bad way, just in a I love this too much to quit way. I love this layout too much to kind of just move on. So I just kept working at it, and I worked on it even more tonight just to kind of, because I would have had a 10 by 8 layout for 24, and I needed to again cover the 4 inches to the right. So in my final flip through, you'll see what it all looks like in the end, because my battery for my camera died, and so I don't think I got that on film. So we'll see. how that looks in here, but I really love how it turns out. So please check that video out. It's gonna be up probably the day after you're looking at this. So if you haven't yet subscribed or signed up for notifications, please do, so that you know whenever I post new videos. I love sharing with you. So I am looking at these frames again and thinking about which ones I can use. And so we'll see what I use in the end, but there are quite a few specialty cards and things still there. I think I want to do a year of December projects. I feel like we have enough photos and stories for a year of December. So anyway, I am simply going to cut down this acetate and work through getting it done. So I'm cutting this down to 7 inches by 8 inches, and it's I'm using this trimmer because I find that it cuts my acetate without it sliding, which is like a clean cut versus a rotary cut. And so simply popping that on there and then adding this frame. So loving how that looks, and then just thinking through to add some bits and pieces here and there. But I do love that good chair up there, and I just kind of love how clean it looks. So in the end, I decided to use this frame on the other side. Loving how it's all coming together, and simply going to adhere this to either side of the acetate. In the end, I preferred it closer to the left hand side because I felt like it would layer nicely when I flipped that acetate over, and you could still see the 23 poking through. So I felt like that would work. So just gonna get some of my red line tape for this for a nice secure adhering adhesive. Nicely adhering this down, the acetate as well as with smooth photo paper. I felt like I needed some red line tape for this, so I'm just gonna pop this on all of the edges, and my titanium scissors are still going strong. At the end of this project, I feel like I need to completely tidy up my craft room and clean some of the tools and just, like some post-DD cleanup. So pretty excited for all of that, and I'm going to add this on. Peeling off the red line backer using my tweezers and going through one by one, pulling them all off, and then lining it up onto the acetate to stick it on. So yeah, right there seems fine to me. I think on this day I just love being able to dress up in my green and white striped shirt and go out, and my leopard print headband, which is making the rounds in my outfits lately for some reason. Not sure why, but quite enjoying that. And yeah, doing the same thing for the 2 acetate journal cards and then the frame. I guess at one point I thought like, oh, did I forget to leave, a place for the holes? So you're so used to scrapbooking and having to remember to leave a space, a half-inch space on the side for holes. So it is quite exciting not having to do that. And so I'm doing the same thing. This is quite thick. is what I was thinking when I was putting it together, because it's you frame the photo, a layer of acetate, and then two layers of acetate, and then another frame. But and still, I think it might very well be one of my favorite layouts for this year's December daily. So loving how this turned out in the end, and just popping it down there. I realized after that I put these words in the opposite direction, probably 2025, and since it is adhered so strongly, I could not quite, I didn't want to risk, like I spent so much time saving this layout. I didn't want to risk destroying it over a piece of acetate. I also justified to myself after trying a few times that, the words are in the direction of the photos and all the different moments of time that I documented in those photos. So I think that's just fine. It is staying. Still one of my favorite layouts for this year and this season. So popping on the last berries, wonky gold glitter stars. Love using those in this December daily, and I quite love how this looks. So yeah, like honestly, the piece that I added on to the right, you would absolutely love it, I am sure. So check out the completed flip through to see what it looks like in the end, because I actually go through my entire album and add in any extra filler pages and whatnot coming down to the end. So that's the end of 23. Loving how this second album is coming together, and now I'm working on 24. Can you believe that? It is the second to last layout in my December daily album. I am thrilled. I'm as thrilled as the mom you see in that photo wrapping gifts on Christmas Eve night. It's so many mixed feelings of excitement, of loving that I'm finishing, of reliving the memories and feeling sad that it's coming to an end, of, just everything in one. So I am simply using these three circles, and I am punching them out of the photo paper, sorry. And I am simply, I was making a last batch of pistachio and chocolate chunk cookies because I felt for it, and because it wasn't Christmas Day yet, and all the other treats we had over Christmas lunch. So my daughter, I had to hold at some points, and she was trying to get her hand in the bowl, which is quite cute. So I got that as a photo. My kids playing the piano, and my son cheering on my daughter while she does that. My in-laws arriving and spending Christmas with us, and my son is absolutely elated for that. So yeah, pulling those together. At first I thought I would just tell the story of me wrapping gifts in the bedroom. I got a few really good shots, I think, but this ended up being one of my favorites for a number of reasons. But I think it really tells a story of, moms or parents wrapping gifts on Christmas Eve night and hiding in the room. I think my daughter was asleep actually in the room, so I was trying to be pretty quiet and not wake her. So just a lot of feelings happening here while I put this layout together. So wanting to do the Christmas Eve title with these white glitter alpha stickers, and these are I hope that these come back because I've used so much of them this year. And these are probably some of my favorite, that the white glitter things over the years. I am a white glitter fanatic. So simply wanting to yeah, just pop that on using my T-square, trying to keep it as straight as possible. And just going through and doing the words Christmas Eve. But because I wanted it to balance off, I needed to find another word after Eve for that lower layer. So just popping this in slowly, making sure that I have a straight line. And then just getting to the point where yeah, I feel a bit more confident. Some of the letters, I mean, these are a few years old, so some of them are kind of peeling off, like the top is peeling off the base if I'm not extremely careful to pull it off. So I'm just gluing those ones where they kind of peel off. It does make it a touch thinner. So for people who care about thickness in the album and things not being too thick, I have seen, you know, videos of people peel off backings from chipboard and whatnot. So this is probably a good way to get it to thin down a bit. Loving how that looks, guys. Loving how it's all coming out. And then simply, lining it all up, putting it all together. I remember thinking, you know, like next year to be sure to do gifts early. And this year, I think, I'm not sure if I was trying to include my husband a lot more in the gift buying process. Maybe because there were more gifts. You know, we have a daughter. Maybe because I felt like I wanted to share the joy or the experience. I don't know what ended up happening. In the end was I had to buy a ton of gifts off of Amazon. I'm like, what day would that be? Sunday or Monday before Christmas. And so they arrived on the eve of Christmas Eve and on Christmas Eve. So when they all came, this is me putting them together. We did buy our in-laws presents in person at the mall, and now so, you know, those are always well received. My kids, I felt like I wanted to get them a lot of like educational things because my son starts kindy, and my daughter just loves playing with whatever. But I got her some nice, really nice kind of Montessori toys, and I just, yeah, they really loved it. And so I'm happy to see them playing with them. I am trying to just add in some extra bits. So I decided to pop in papers and bows here. I initially wanted to use one of these scripts from this year, like Tradition or December, but then I saw papers and bows, which was from I think last year's collection maybe. There are like a few titles as well in there that are really fun. So again, going in with the glitter, gold glitter, probably my most used embossing powder for this season. But it's been fun working with it. And I guess I spent a few years not doing it because I heard that the glitter gets everywhere, and that was annoying for me to think of. But I just was careful, and I mean, I don't think it was too bad, to be honest. So, because I mean, I'm using it again and again, so I'm obviously not annoyed by it. And I also have this glitter vacuum that I use on my desk sometimes if anything ever gets too messy. Like I did spill, I think early in the season, I spilled my gold glitter powder my desk mat. Luckily, it was clean, so I just able to scoop it back up. But yeah, just love how that looks. Some jingle jangles would be nice too for this. Just gonna use some double-sided adhesive on this to adhere it to the photo. So going all around on this one, since most of the vellum is covered by the journal card on top, and then just peeling it off after this and adhering it closely, leaving an even border on the left and base of the photo before just choosing a position that I think is best, and also wanting it to be just below that navy blue box, which is one of the gifts I bought for my husband. I think he was the biggest winner this year. just by the way. But I got like one of those thorough massage guns, which I thought would be nice for like post workout or whenever. Seems to be spraining stuff a lot now, so be good to have that. And just gonna pop that into that space. I think it's just, you know, perfectly fits in there. And thinking about what I can add in embellishment wise to layer this up. Loving how that is looking with the gifts. I still have a few gifts remaining, I think. Yeah. But it was nice to be able to use some for this. And I thought in this moment that I could also use the bar humbug. I'm bar humbugging because it's late in the night. I started wrapping these the day before. Every time I started wrapping, I think I had to, my husband needed help with the kids or somebody needed mommy, and I had to run away. And so I ended up just wrapping like 1 or 2 gifts before this moment. It actually wasn't too late. I think right after dinner, I just said it is time. I put my daughter to sleep, and I said it's now or never. And so that was like 7 p.m. Bless her heart. And I think I was by 9 p.m. I had the gifts under the tree. So I just kind of put my head down and got it done. Because I don't feel like I enjoy last minute things. I always feel good that I did get it done without having to like stay up all night. Like this night I went to bed quite early, earlier than I have been for most of the December season anyway. So I felt quite good about that. But just bar humbug because I feel like, yeah, next year I will do it much earlier, or I might get a wrapping service or something, because I really love seeing pretty wrapping. I don't feel like I'm completely there yet when it comes to really great wrapping. I also feel a bit, I don't know how you feel, but when I see everybody happily unwrapping their gifts, I'm really excited for them. Of course, my gift came in a gift box pre-wrapped. But I'm really excited to see everybody unwrapping their gifts. But I also feel like, you know, I spent a lot of time wrapping this. I think another thing for me is like card making, which I think is why I choose scrapbooking as my main hobby, because I feel like in some way these scrapbooks live on a lot longer than cards and a wrapping paper live on. You know, like I imagine years from now, and I hope years from now that my family, you know, look through my albums and get a really good glimpse of what life was like. But yeah, I much rather use my time for something that's a bit more long lasting. Oh gosh. Anyway, so just popping these gifts on here and putting on this because I really want to use up my phrases anyway. And I put a little note on that little green tag as to why bar humbug. I just said, you know, I just want to start earlier next day and I'm not going to wait. Or I might just kind of I like shopping around Black Friday, but I think I might just start even earlier, to be honest. Because by the time the things arrive and then you have to take time out to stealthily wrap these presents. Yeah. Anyways, I just put a note in there. I'm just lining these up to make sure you could see the bows of both of these gifts, and then the bar handbag to your left. And just, yeah, tucking us in. I left a little space there for this to tuck in as well. So just a little extra layering on this one. And I decide to stamp Find the Joy, which is from this year's little label and quote text stamp set. I feel like I also need to do a December project that is just stamp based, because we have so many great stamps every year. But I guess unless I stamp early, I think I usually dedicate quite a few of my foundation pages towards early stamping, mixed media things, mixed media fun. I still feel that I did pretty well adding in stamps throughout the month, because I'm just adding in bits here and there, embossing here and there, and I quite like that. I mean, you saw I did a nice little background for 23. So I did make use of my stamps. I also made my label spines early, and I'm really happy that I did that early in the process. I am loving looking at the top of my albums here on my desk. They have all these little jingle jangles and ribbons and stuff looking out. Very cute, by the way. So going on to the right hand side of the page, and I have these circles cut out. I have a general idea of where I'm going with embellishments as well. Kind of looking to see how they look together, and then just kind of making some space on my desk to put this one together. So I have these are probably my 5 favorite photos from the day. Unfortunately, because I cut these in a circle, some people were cut out of that one on the top. But decisions had to be made. And so with this, I'm going to do just some little shaker stars on the top there, punching them and popping some ribbon through them. So we'll see how that looks in the end. And also having that number 24 and some gifts lining up, because it's still, Christmas Eve, the day where gifts are being wrapped and received from the doorstep. I realized that I did like them a bit off center. I thought that would look cute as well. So loving that, and just gonna bring it all together. I guess at this point kind of trying to we're gonna write in white. I thought that this would be fun. I use one of my acrylographs from Arch and Olive. You can use code Nolana10 if you're shopping on Arch and Olive, and you get 10% off everything. But that is a really, this is probably the best white pen I've ever used. Because I usually use a Poscas, but I find I have to shake them so much, and then the ink is still a bit translucent. I've tried quite a few trying to get it right, but just hasn't worked for me. But this one is a pure white ink paint pen, so no issues there with the actual opacity of it. So impressed by how it came together on this. The vellum has a bit of texture, and I was typing. I think the way that I write, I did have some flicking, but I also quite like that. You can barely see it, but I think it's just the way that I write. And then I just use my piercer, mix up my piercer and my multi-hole punch to add some holes on and use brads to create swivels for each photo over the text. I okay, this might be again one of my favorite layouts for the season. Um yeah, I feel like really filled with joy, to be honest. Joy for being able to do this project every year for quite a while now. I look forward to it every year with excitement. I always have mixed feelings at this point. I always feel like I want to document more December throughout the year. And I've learned a lot this season. You know, my life has changed, and I completely understand the done by next December. That's what I've been calling it, because I feel like we are the done by this December crew, and then there's the done by some next December crew. I completely understand why that's a thing, because you know you get to relive those moments at a later point throughout the year whenever it works for you. Um, but you also get to enjoy the season without crafting every night. But I quite love the practice of being able to sit at my desk, which will be similar to my journal practice for 2026. I feel like this has really created a momentum for me to know that I can create every night, you know, and I think in that context too with journaling, it will probably be a little less hectic, a little more streamlined. Um, but yeah, piercing and popping these holes in, adding in my star bars. These are 6 point stars. I have a few more of those than my star brads. I decided to use these instead, and I felt like they look a bit more like gift tops, like the ribbons, maybe. I don't know, maybe because they're even numbers as well, whereas the ribbons are like, yeah, 4 and 2, this is 6. So I don't know, something's happening in my brain. So just gonna pop that in, and yeah, love that there's white space in the footage too. That doesn't always happen for me. So it gives me some nice clear spots for the brads to fit without having to, you know, pop it through someone, which is always creepy for me. So yeah, popping that on, popping that through. We have our stars there. They're all swiveling, and now it's time to embellish this. So adding in some red line tape for the number 24, and I'm putting it along the dark parts of this. In my mind, that looks better, but I am thinking maybe I try the light parts next time. I don't know. Yeah, to see if there'll be any like residue poking through. I guess you could also stitch it to the paper as well if you and your sewing machine are friends. My sewing machine is a good friend of mine sometimes, but sometimes we have some situations. And at this point in the project, I'm not really feeling for situations. So popping in this number 24, and I'm just kind of making sure I have it over the right section. And then I am simply going to add in my red and my pink gifts. I feel like there are some pink and red hues in these photos that are coming through. So that'd be nice. I love how that green looks on the red. I remember working on this probably during the day, and just coming into my craft room to do like turn a light off or something, and I saw the green on this paper, and I was like, oh wow, it's stunning. Because I don't think I typically make a point to mix red with green. I know it sounds strange, but I typically like, an all red, red, white, gold, red, white, silver, greens. These are my green layouts from before, and I have quite a few green layouts, green, golds, creams. So when I do mix red and green, I'm like, oh, okay, this is really nice. I quite like it. So loving these things, I thought was a good title for the top here. And then I'm gonna add in some jingle jangle stars to the top. I was quite surprised at how many of these I still have because I use them throughout the season. I probably use them in every other layout or something. I still have quite a lot. I mean, I have a lot more green than I have red and yellow, so that you can see. But then, yeah, just gonna punch these in the top. Now, I think I probably could have used my piercer to punch this one, but I didn't. And I decided to use my multi-hole punch instead for this. Not sure if I recommend because you can't really see, like it's kind of, you could kind of see. I mean, maybe I could have put an overhead light, which is what I need to do. I mean, I do have some lights overhead, but they were off. Maybe I should put them on. Getting up there and to kind of see exactly where that plastic lies. So but I punch it very closely edges. They still worked though, so that's fine. And just punching it through the top, adding some jute, and yeah, I was thinking about whether to add these wooden, but they seem a bit too chunky. There, and yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with my original two stars, the red and green. So we're just gonna, yeah, add those in there. Put some twine in there, add some texture, have some fun. Just have some fun. Just have some fun. It's our fun time. It's our project. It's our thing. It's time that we get to spend alone, but still documenting the family. It's just so many layers and levels of memory keeping that really speaks to me. And it's in moments like this that just remind me of how lucky we are to have such an amazing hobby. If you are new here, new to scrapbooking, welcome. I hope that it brings you as much joy as it's brought me over the years. If you've been scrapbooking for years, I know you feel those butterflies that I'm feeling right now. Just makes me so warm and fuzzy. And so as I wrap these layouts up, like I'm always filled with gratitude. And I absolutely can't wait for next year's documenting. So just adding in my title and popping these little tiny stars that I have here. I feel like these stars are gonna go into a shaker sometime soon. So, but they're very, very small. I use the tiniest gold ones. I also have these silver ones, which I quite love. They're a bit bigger, and I've used them in my January Stories by the Moon project to create shaker title page for my story album. So quite loving that. And just popping it on, just subtle additions of detail to just add some pizzazz to that. And then I am gonna add in 2 more gifts. I am playing around with where to add them. And I love how it looks up top. I also love this year, and I didn't use them. I'm trying to use it all month long. I think they look really great there, and it leaves room for the punching of holes as well. And I think I went for loving these things this year because every year is different. Things seem the same until they're not, and being able to appreciate that which the season that we're in is what this is all about. So using some double-sided adhesive, popping that down. I quite like going over the circles. That brought me a bit more joy than I thought it would. Kind of like coloring outside the lines, and realizing that, whoa, this is fun. And let's do something a bit different. So yeah, I'm gonna add some red line tape on the back of the ribbon and cutting that down using some of my handy dandy tools to line this up. And this is what it looks like, guys. This is probably my second favorite layout of the season. I don't know. I mean, when I do my flip through, I probably feel like all of them are my favorite. But yeah, I really love how this turned out. I didn't expect it to turn out this way, but love where it landed. Love having all these swivel circles happening. Love, love. And those actually tuck under the title too, which is quite fun. So we have this side and we have little tags, and then we have the other side with the swivels. And now I'm thinking, whoa, I should add something else in here. Let's add some ribbon because I am wrapping presents, and it talked about paper and bows, and there's paper and there are bows, but let's add a real bow in there. So went through my ribbon stash and found this ribbon. It has some muted reds and greens, and I love it. It's an embroidered textured ribbon. Love how it looks. And I'm just going to use some of my thicker red line tape to adhere this down, tucking it in under that library pocket. You can laugh as hard as you want looking at me do this. This is quite funny to me that it took me so long to get that under the pocket, and I probably could have just left it on top, but I guess I just was really determined to get this under the pocket. Using a piercer, definitely not recommended for an embroidered ribbon. And pulling out one of my other tweezers to push it in, which works in the end. And I'm just gonna gently tugging it under because I don't want it poking up. Very, very subtle things that take up more of our time when we're scrapbooking. There's also some fraying, and I went a bit excited and pulled, but it's fine. It all worked out in the end. Pulled out that bit of thing, see, and so I'm just gonna cut that off, tuck it back in. It's fine, everything's fine, we're all fine, everything is gonna be just fine. So just gonna add in some stars, put some more red line tape to the back to secure this extra piece of ribbon. And once that's through, I can go in and stick this down and get this in here. So popping that all in and loving how it looks. I'm gonna punch to get this brad in there. I'm thinking I could have layered two stars. I'm also thinking about my number 23 and that I wanted to layer some vellum stars on to that extra piece on the right hand side, but I did not go in that direction in the end. Where even are my vellum stars? I'll need to look around a bit on my desk. Anyway, so wrapping this up using some tape for this piece on the ribbon so it's a bit more secure. Adding some stars along the ribbon just because. And I think what happened is I popped some glue on where my hands are, on my pants in the photo, and I wanted to cover that up. Which is weird because I covered up with a dark green star, so you can't even see it anyway. But at least for me, it works. Oof. Anyway, love how this looks in the end. Love how it all turns out. That's my number 24. So now we're gonna move on to my number 25. I'm gonna pop these in first to make sure that everything's all handy dandy. And so just gonna pop this through, pop this on, and realizing now that I have to punch through ribbon to a double layer of ribbon to get this on. But it all works out in the end. It took some patience and some time, and of course in the back of my mind always thinking I've worked too hard in this layout to destroy it, so I need to be patient with this. So I take my time and I got it. And so now for story 25, we have the back of 24. I have a few ideas to this, but I have printed some of my favorite photos from the day. I did want to add in some extra label, like the label pages, and pop in some extra photos onto that. But in the end, I decided not to. I decided that this was fine. Just the way it is. I decided that Christmas Day layout didn't have to be 5 layouts long, 5 pages long. I decided that this was enough and let it be enough. And so enjoying the process of punching these out, reliving these moments, looking at the kids open their presents, and they worked together to open their presents, which was so cute. My son was helping my daughter, which I really loved. I have this photo of them here, he's helping her, and then she's kind of playing with her toys, and he's helping her open cards and envelopes from my in-laws. And so it's just a really fun day, all in all. So I decide, instead of trying to put, brads through and have it line up, and I think I just stuck these photos down. The photos are self-explanatory, and I write in the circles on the left and right. So, and then I embellish it up. So quite like how that looked. Deciding whether to layer the photos directly into each other for that base layer where some will come through, or if to kind of do a little staggered effect like I did with them on the vellum paper. Just trying to move this piece around so that it doesn't poke through the top of the photo. Just kind of angling it a bit more and sticking that down. Using very little glue. You can even pass your finger over the glue if you like to, get like a smoother, non-warped stick of your tacky glue on vellum. And just gonna add in these tags. It's the 25. I've been waiting to use that. And I have my Christmas, which is like almost my last tab in there. I've been waiting to use these. Christmas is here, and Christmas on this one. So just gonna like how that looks up top, and just gonna let it kind of come together like this. So sticking this on, and definitely simply adding this onto here. Lining it up either lower or up, but I think I prefer it a bit higher up. And just gonna stick some stars into there as well, because we need to use some more of those plastic stars. There are lots. There's a lot still here on my desk. Anyway, so just gonna pop that in, and just gonna maneuver it a bit until I like it. And so I love that. And then you're gonna use, I was thinking red or green, but I go with red in the end because you could barely see the green anyway. and simply pop in a little bit of tacky glue on the edge of this and popping that in, so we have that there. We have our celebrate. We have this going on here. And then wanting to put a star bride, but I just add a touch of glue and just wiping it so it won't warp at all, and sticking that down. And so now I'm just gonna write in my journaling. Oh yes, I'm going to punch in these tabs very close as well, but using jute ribbon again and just tying it through that piece there. Putting it through these two banners. I'm calling them tags. Anyway, banners, tags. Pennant flags. Tying them together and then wrapping this layer up. So what I end up doing as well is I pull out the Christmas Time is Here acetate from last year. I wanted to use it last year, but I didn't end up using it, and I still had it layered with a few other things from last year. So I popped that out to use it for the right hand side of my page. I'm just tying this together, and I also print some full page photos. So tying this together, I'm just gonna write in, you know, some sentiments about the day, how happy I am to have celebrated this year's Christmas, our first Christmas with our daughter, my son's fifth Christmas. It's just nice having the grandparents here, and it's so not anticlimactic, but it just all, like, after we spent months and months planning for the season, it all just comes all the way down to the end of the year. So thank you so much for being here on this journey with me. This is a full page photo. I'm really grateful for you being here. If you're still here, please comment down below where you're at in your December daily process. What are your plans moving forward? What do you look forward to documenting next year even? I created these in ChatGPT from some of my favorite photos from the day. And I was just doing it for fun. I didn't intend to use it in my album, but I love how they came out, and I decided to tuck them in. So I'm just going to stick them back to back and call it done, guys. Thank you for being here. I wish you a wonderful new year. Please stick around for videos for next year. And I look forward to seeing you in 2026 here on my channel. Bye.